Legacy Motor Club announces they will switch to Toyota starting in the 2024 season. Team owner Jimmie Johnson tweeted, "I'll always be appreciative of Chevy and what we accomplished together. Starting in 24, I'm excited for Legacy Motor Club to partner with Toyota Racing and forge a new legacy for the future." Brett, spot on, spot off.
Oh, I didn't want to go first. So last week we talked about being a key partner, and we talked about which teams are key partners for Chevrolet. We rattled those 3 teams off. Legacy Motor Club is not one of them. And Jimmie Johnson is a 7-time champion with what manufacturer? Chevrolet. I am so spot off for Chevrolet allowing Jimmie Johnson to leave the conversation, to leave the table. Clearly Jimmie has a 3 to 5 year plan here with this team, and clearly he's making a lot of the decisions. He's bringing in a lot of his people to the table, and Jimmie Johnson is arguably the most competitive guy we know, because you can't win 7 championships at the Cup Series level with all the different cars and all the different formats in all the different time span without being truly competitive and truly amazing. I know good and well in Jimmie's heart, and I have not talked to Jimmie other than he tweeted me and corrected me that it's not Legacy Motorsports, it's Legacy Motor Club, and I'm an idiot. I'm sorry, Mr. Goat. I did that, and I apologized on the Twitter. But I know good and damn well in Jimmie Johnson's heart.
Did you block him?
That he didn't want to leave Chevrolet. So for him to get up and leave as a manufacturer and switch from Chevrolet to Toyota, it tells us that Toyota is going to make him a key partner, that they're going to bring him to the table. And listen, I've been privy to information as a spotter where you find out on days like the Daytona 500 and days like Talladega that the key partners are not going to work with you. Well, if you're Jimmie Johnson, who has 7 championships with Chevrolet, and they got the balls to look at you and say, "Hey, Jimmie, we're not going to help Noah or Eric win this race, just so you know." Now, I don't know if that actual conversation happened, but I know that they do happen. If you want to be priority, you got to be a key partner. And if he switches to Toyota, clearly he feels like he's going to be a key partner. Real quick on the Toyota side, win-win for them. They get a 7-time Cup Series champion that came from another manufacturer, which makes it look like you're very attractive for some reason. Toyota initially got into the sport for one major reason. They had other reasons, but the major reason was to Americanize their brand. Well, they've done that over the years. And you go get an American icon like Jimmie Johnson, you're doing it even further. So spot on for Legacy Motor Club and spot off for Chevrolet.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about all the success Jimmie's had in Cup and Chevy. When he was back running truck, them stadium trucks, wherever it was, they were Team Chevy trucks. That's how long that relationship has been. So to your point, 100% spot off for them letting him go. And I have been in those meetings also where they'll tell you, we used to practice at Daytona and Talladega. They would say, "Okay, guys, we're going to go out in the line. The Chevy cars are going to be 10, 12 deep. It's going to be all the Hendrick cars, all the RCR cars." Trackhouse wasn't around then. I was at our RPM, which essentially is Legacy Motor Club, and they go, "All right, you guys just line up at the back and figure it out
however you want."
We literally don't care what you guys do. And then that would be the same thing. Like if we could push one of these Hendrick cars or one of these RCR cars to the win or a stage win, that's what we need to do. And you're like, okay, well, off, all right, great, thanks a lot. But on the Toyota side of it, listen, we've been fighting strength in numbers for years. They were even worse before we got there. That's
because y'all race each other the whole race.
But just in plate racing alone, you have to base your strategy off of the other 2 manufacturers because you don't have enough cars to just do whatever you want to do. And it was even worse before 2311. It was 4, now it's 6, now it's going to be 8, and maybe more if either one of them teams adds some. So now you're evening the numbers to where you can just run your own race and not have to worry so much about what them other guys are doing. So it's a tremendous get on our side. And like you said, Eric Jones has a outstanding relationship with Toyota. I've seen a lot of, I think Jack Irving and some other guys from Toyota were tweeting how happy they are to have Eric back in the fold with Toyota. So, I mean, it's just a win-win for Toyota, and I don't have any idea how Chevy lets this happen.
And on top of it, I think a lot of us have seen this, but Toyota has a really strong development program, and we've always talked about Toyota doesn't have a place for some of these drivers that should be moving up to go. Well, now this is the opportunity, right? I think that I don't know where the hierarchy will be with teams, but at least we know that there are more spots opening up for Toyota development to move forward as well. TJ, what do you think?
I don't think any of those spots are opening up.
I mean, if they add cars in the future.
So, yeah, definitely a punch in the mouth for Chevy.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no way that Jimmie just did this and then like at least say, "Hey, this is I offer over here." Like, there's no way Chevy he just blindsided Chevy.
And I don't know all the things that go on behind the table or behind closed doors, but these OEMs control so many aspects of the data that's distributed from a sim perspective, tire perspective. They control how many hours of wind tunnel time these teams get, where that information is distributed. So imagine that, me and Freddie are best friends and I tell him everything, and me and TJ are good friends and I only tell him 25% of what I tell Freddie. That's the difference between being a key partner to these OEMs versus not. And Toyota in the Cup Series, they don't not have a key partner. Everybody's a key partner. So you're now adding your third organization. I would think that a lot of Chevrolet teams and maybe even some Ford teams would have loved to have been that third key partner.
We saw key partnerships come into play this year with louvers. There's a key partners that got information that other teams didn't about what to do with these louvers or how to do it and who received what. Like you see it right there in the proofs in the pudding of why one team had 8 louvers that were doctored, modified, and one team had 1. So I mean, that's just the way it goes.
I think this hurts down the road because when you do those running orders, you still need these guys. These guys are a pretty important piece to your puzzle. Whether that's, when you take all the Chevys and line them up, you kind of know the pecking order of which guys are, and these guys are still, you need them. They're just important, even if they're 6th in line. They're important because that keeps that. If you have a 6-car train with these 2, cars in the back of it, and you take them away, now you're only 4 cars.
Yeah, I really wish I would have reached out to Justin Marks leading into the show because it just now hit me. But when you look at what he accomplished when he bought Chip Ganassi Racing, Chevrolet could have told him to go away. They could have told him you're not going to be a key partner. So for him to staple his place and his legacy as Trackhouse and remain a key partner, because without that partnership, Ross Chastain ain't making a Final Four last year.
No.
Without that partnership, Ross Chastain probably ain't winning 2 races last year. Daniel Suarez winning a race. Obviously, Ross having a great season this year. If he can't maintain that, then he's in trouble. So shout out to him for once again proving how well he's doing on the business side of the sport. And again, man, it hurts my heart a little bit to see, because this would be like Dale Jr. announcing tomorrow that Junior Motorsports is switching to Ford. Like, he's been a Chevy guy his whole life. Every car at his house is a Chevrolet. So to have this happen, just it's like watching Brett Favre leave the Packers and go to the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah. You're like, no, this can't happen. You watch Aaron Rodgers leave to go to the Jets. You're like, no. You watch Rusty Wallace switch from Ford to Dodge or whatever he did back in the day, Pontiac. And you're like, no, this can't happen. Like, this is just one of those heartbreaking moments.
I'm just amazed at how quickly it happened, where Legacy Motor Club, obviously the transition happened in the offseason. I mean, it's only May, and this has already been solidified and announced. There must have been conversations even before the announcement. I
think conversations started probably when Jimmie bought the team or is in the process of accruing more and more equity in the team. And like I said, I think he's steering the ship.
And listen, and obviously there's a lot of turnover there front office wise. This was where we were going with Bubba. Like, this is the original plan was Danny was going to buy into to RPM, and that was going to become a Toyota team. Now, this could be just coincidence that it happens to be that same team, but these conversations could have started that long ago. With that 3-4 years ago now. Because I think that was the original plan, and that kind of fell apart, and then they formed 2311. But that these conversations were happening around this team 3 or 4 years ago.